Hello, friends. It's John Klein, third of episode 236 of Shadow and Flame of Magic, your premier Kitty Pryde, Locky, and Magic podcast. Today, we're going to review Dark Web X-Men #1 as part of our Dark Web coverage. But the big news in X-Men franchise is that we got the first three episodes of X-Men 97 season 2. So that's going to be our actual main feature. And then we're going to spoil the heck out of X-Men United 5, What If Secret Wars 1, the Marvel Swimsuit Special Brand New Day, and um yeah. And then very briefly Wade Wilson Deadpool 6. But we got the first three episodes of X-Men 97 season 2. The first episode was Days of Future. No, I'm sorry, Days of Past Future. And wait, what great episodes. The second one was by far my favorite of the three, but it starts off with Mother Ascani saying previously on the X-Men. It takes place 6 months after the previous episode. Trish Tilby's back as a reporter. Her face is all scarred up from being a Prime Sentinel. We have the Egyptian team, the ancient Egyptian team of 3000 BC in the Nile Delta of Xavier, Magneto, Beast, Nightcrawler, Rogue. With the apocalypse begins. And then we got the future of 3960 AD in the Atlantic Basin with Cyclops, Jean Grey, Storm, Morphin, Wolverine. And this is Apocalypse at its height. And it's just cool seeing Forge working on his time travel cube that we saw in the original series. I noticed that Bay DeMayo is still the executive producer, and then he co-writes some of the episodes as well. So that's interesting. So silly Bishop's we gotta get the X-Men back to the 90s. Speaking of Bishop, I just launched a Lucas Bishop subreddit as I think it's like the third time now I've wanted a on the Daily Lockheed subreddit. I want to cross post to as many different subreddits as possible, and I keep coming across Iceman doesn't have one and Bishop doesn't have one. And I tried Bishop X-Men, I tried Iceman X-Men, which Reddit said does exist, but I could not get it to result for me. And so I started a Bobby Drake subreddit and a Lucas Bishop subreddit. I don't know how popular those things would be, but and I shouldn't be the guy to make those, but I do like how they're both Marauders, so that's fun, but I don't know. I could not find an Iceman proper subreddit. Yeah, I just recently discovered Beast. I think his is called Beast X-Men, which I'm like, oh, is that what people are doing? But I don't know. So those are out there. If you want to subscribe to those or follow those, that'd be nice, but I don't know when I'm going to be updating those. Just perhaps daily. Um, okay, so Forge. So Bishop goes to the ancient Egypt team, and then Forge is going to the future. Back to the Future. Um, Wolverine's pretty bad arse with his bone claws and no nose. Forge lets out old My Stars and Garters, which is fun. I mean, just like fun is the word for these. Storm and Forge are immediately back together. Um, Sky and Jean want to stay, which makes sense as they want to keep raising Nathan. There's so many dead mutants, but I don't recognize any of them in the big piles we see. Ozymandias shows up, which I'm like, hey, Cyclops or Apocalypse is stone buddy. Jean's training a young Nathan, which is cute. There are a bunch of hugs. Mother Ascani, looks great here, sounds great. Gates McFadden from Dr. Crusher from Star Trek Next Gen voices her, and the design's perfect. Like she even takes off her cloak at one point. We see a long, like whatever you'll call a long rat's tail. But they have or quarter that down and give her red hair. Like she pretty much is Rachel Summers. Well, no one calls her Rachel, but we know. Um, I sort of watching all these makes me sort of want to get these X-Men season 2 Funkos. Um, if they made a Forge, I would definitely buy a Forge one. But my poor mother Ascani. she's playing it very cool, and it must hurt her a little to see that Scott and Jean are fighting so hard to raise Nathan. When poor Rachel's like, "It'd be nice if you guys wanted to raise me, but what would that look like?" Apparently the Scotty have an expression called "Thanks for today, please for tomorrow," which seems odd as an expression, but I get the concept of it. And baby Nathan's baby blanket is a sacred item in the future. Scott is a summer and Nathan is a spring, so together they can fight off the winter, which is coming. Um, Storm and Forge haven't lost a step. Like I really like those two together. Um, Nathan was gonna play catch with Morph because they found a baseball in a chest, and Morph threw the ball to Nathan, and the next thing you know, he's missing, as is Scott and Jean. So it's like, oh, they're gonna do it. They're gonna change history. Um, and then Jean and Scott try to have a telepathic communication. Nathan's like, I can hear all your thoughts. Which is weird, as wouldn't you have noticed they were his parents way earlier than that? But we see Apocalypse's current horseman, and I only recognize Mastermind as one of them, though I don't know how he'll be alive that far in the future. They start referencing how Apocalypse really wants Nathan to take over his body. And I start wondering if we're going to get Strife in this series. Like that could be interesting. Um, there's this new progressive ad with like four friends going on various adventures, and I sort of like how I mean the old progressive research psychiatrist is with them, but I still sort of like the idea that these progressive people turning to the parents actually have other friends. Like that's fun. There's also an Old Navy ad for the 4th of July. With the two newscaster ladies who like shopping and the guy who doesn't get the idea. And it's just like, are we still doing these types of ads? But I guess so. But we saw this a bunch. Storm's about to go full Omega with channeling the cosmic solar flares is cool. Uh, oh yeah, Storm asks his mother Ascani to speak very plainly, and then she just starts telling her straight information, which was cool. Nathan has a power inhibitor, but can still control some of his powers, so that's curious. Scott's wearing his X Factor white X uniform, but modified for the future. And then Jean's is wearing her red uniform with a yellow X. And that's just cool. And that's when I'm like, oh man, I wouldn't mind seeing these Funkos all the time. Um, Scott does tell Nathan the truth about their other parents. Jean repeats Madeline's speech, which is a great moment for baby Nathan to be like, "Oh yeah, my mother told that to me." But at the same time, I sort of don't love Gene having all of Maddie's memories. Like that doesn't feel right. Nathan's empowered by both the love and the encouragement he's receiving. I love seeing how powerful Mother Ascani is. She can lift the entire ship. Storm truly is the Omega of Omegas with how she's controlling the cosmic flares. Um, Mother Ascani has the Phoenix, which makes sense. She's the best Phoenix host. Apocalypse is going to attack the X-Men where they're at their weakest, the 1990s. But it's just so silly how they're leading so hard into the 90s. I don't recognize any of these freed mutants, but that makes sense as well as they're from the future. So why would I recognize them? I love Storm. I need more Storm in my life. Nathan receives his arm computer thingy. Now he can body slide by one. We cut to the old man Cable and his X-Force with Psylocke and Archangel, who I really like together. She has a British accent, so I guess we're doing that. Cable wants to recruit Jubilee and Sunspot, and we're just off to the races. And then the second episode's a force to be reckoned with. Cable says previously on the X-Men. It's the year 1997. We see Quentin Quire. We see Penance. So I'm like, is that Monet? We get X Factor, who's strong guy Havoc, who repeats his brothers. We're the good guys, but they're working for the government. So, Polaris, Wolfsbane, and Multiple Man, three of them. Chambers on the news being detained by X Factor. Jubilee has not attempted to repair the X mention. This is when I recognize Trish has facial scars. Um, And Cable finds Jubilee and Sunspot. Cable wants to find the Horseman War. I guess the X-Men are the weakest in 1990s because they're just not there. So it's like, oh yeah, this will be where they're the weakest. I start wondering if we're gonna get X Factor versus X-Force. And then it cuts to the opening credits, which are completely redone to be X-Force opening credits. I'm just like, this is awesome. Sunspot's in his early X-Force uniform, including a red Raphael bandana. Um, they even get the X-Force 97 titles logo, which is cool. They're in Brazil. Psylocke says a duck shoot, which I imagine is British slang for that, right? I really wish I could get my hands on the Psylocke and Juggernaut Funkos that they released like way early in the lines. Toad as well. Um, Jubilee has let her hair grow out. Psylocke has her butterflies, so I'm like, well, maybe this is a mix of Betsy and Quanon. Jubilee hasn't gotten fully on board the X-Force method. This is when I recognize that a force to be reckoned with is in reference to X-Force, and I'm like, oh, that's very clever. Cable wants Archangel to kill War, which is intense. Weird Cable couldn't do it himself, but Warren is death. And then right after Warren kills War, we get this zoo bunch of balloons ad, which I'm like, well, they must have loved that placement. Then we cut to London, England, with Emma Frost, which I imagine Evil Jeff of Comic Book Curse is going to love this episode as it includes both diamonds and butterflies. Emma's going to make Cable bark. Like just Emma Frost is just simply the best. Jubilee's in a Asian outfit, which is nice to see. Emma is a great matchmaker here. Then we cut to Switzerland. Emma came with them, and Psylocke is there too. Emma taking the time to do her nails just in the background. And she lured X-Force into an X Factor trap. And so we are going to get X-Force versus X Factor. I just sensed it in the beginning. Jubilee is about to call Emma a total something, but gets cut off. We get some interesting matchups. Strong Guy versus Cable, Multiple Man versus Psylocke, Havoc versus Sunspot. And right here is when like the app crashed on me and took forever to reload. I had to watch all the ads again. And it was like, what happened? It's a shame that Peter David couldn't see this X Factor in action. We get Havoc versus Jubilee. Emma can still turn diamond, and she's so bored of this fight. Polaris versus Archangel. She's taking everyone down. Polaris literally wraps everyone up. Havoc takes Jubilee. Psylocke took Sunspot down so he couldn't rescue her. Awkward as Havoc just told Jubilee she isn't an X-Man while she's being interrogated. She has a power inhibitor, which is super gross. Polaris is being the good cop, just gals talking. Um, as Polaris is the only other X-Man who's still presently around. X Factor's detainees, I recognize Quentin Quire, Dusk, the Cuckoos, three of them. One of them's in one room and two of them are in the neighboring room, which is weird that they felt the need to separate one of the three. Um, and Artie's there. And even the little girl from Marvels that Angel saved and Phil Sheldon, that feels right. Like him and his family take her in. But it's like what a deep cut that is. I was really hoping X Factor was gonna detain mutants, but then, treat them nicely as if they were secretly rescuing mutants instead, but they're gross government goons. Some Marvel's really pushing the Magic the Gathering collab. The day before I watched all of X-Men 97 season one, it's just saw this ad forever. Um, which I'd be more excited once they make the X-Men set. I'm probably going to do the same thing. I go on that website and find all the Lockheed ones for sure. And then I can't imagine Magic and Kitty be on too many. With me, honestly, I can't imagine Lockheed to be on too many as well. But I'm at least tempted to get or committed to getting all the Lockheed ones and see where we go with Kitty and Magic. I just imagine Magic's got to be on like 80% of them, but we'll see. Um, we see Chambers still there. Jubilee takes down a bunch of guard goons. I thought she was going to rescue a bunch of mutants too. She Oh yeah, she kicks off the wall using fireworks emitting from her feet. So I'm like, well, that's cool. Jubilee turns out was rescuing a bunch of mutants, and I thought I saw a sync in there as well. The song Jubilee is listening to is Veruca Salt's Volcano Girls. Thanks to MSN for citing that. Apparently, they have a song called Spider-Man 79, which is a pretty good sounding one. I bought both the songs, which I'm like, well, of course, like that's what they intended me to do. Jubilee has rollerblades in her boots, which is fun. There was Glob Herman I saw. X Factor's base is apparently a floating ship as well. There was Pixie and Val Cooper's there as well, and she's in an X Factor uniform, so I guess she's on the team. It's just apparently Jubilee has gotten quite the power boost, which I love to see. Havoc and Val Cooper are not pleased with Polaris. Jubilee is clearly the Miss Marvel, the Inglorious X-Force team here. Um, Back to the Future, Teen Cable gets his computer in his arm. X-Men have to get back to the present. Time slide the X-Men by 5. And I missed the credits on the first episode, but they definitely had them for the second episode, and they had the big thank you section, which I tried to take a picture of with my phone, and I just got a black screen. So I guess they're preventing you from doing that, so that's unfortunate. Um, but there do seem to be like larger chunks of thank yous now with all the like a lot more create mar comic book creators. So just love to see. Rise of Apocalypse Part 1, we catch up to the past X-Men. Credits are just this team of X-Men, just like the first episode was just the future X-Men. I love that they can just have so much fun with these credits. The X-Men are in the present, they just need the other half of the team. Bo DeMeo co-wrote this episode, which I thought he was fired, but maybe he was written most of season 2 and then fired. Maybe that sounds about right from what I remember hearing. Um, is Magneto going to give Apocalypse his mission statement? A pharaoh from a foreign land's around. Turns out that's Rabatut, who is king. Insaba Nur is what I should be calling him, I suppose. Makes sense to end the 3 episode premiere of part 1 to get people hyped for part 2. Magneto and Xavier are arguing about what's the right thing to do here. Is Apocalypse the season villain, or is he just the first half villain? Maybe Magneto can fix Insaba Nur. I guess the MCU isn't going to use Kang, the animated verse, will. Are we still expecting Spider-Man 97? Um, Insaba Nur is called a desert rat, which seems very inappropriate. Um, they're fighting this mid-level boss fight guy. I'm not sure who he is. Um, Insaba Nur walks through a dust cloud, and we see how Apocalypse looks, and it's just a. I'm confused why they would show us that. Um, They are calling him Nur, which is weird. I mean, I imagine you don't want to keep saying Insaba Nur, but I don't know. Nur, like, I feel like you would call him Insaba if anything, but I don't know. Bishop hasn't caught up to these X-Men yet. The X-Men need the android parts to get back to the future. Xavier's using an ancient wheelchair. I like seeing these past tunics the X-Men are wearing. Beast is getting pretty frustrated. Beast must be feeling pretty low that he's at the point of giving up on science and just going to pray his way out of this. Magneto is giving your leadership skills, so that doesn't seem ideal. Xavier can't just take the information out of Nora's mind. He's worried the most he uses his powers, the more the future will be rewritten. Unless, of course, this has all happened before. Nora's lieutenant's not happy with the X-Men. Magneto has been filling Nora's head with talk of destiny, so that's not great. Magneto has both his exes in the room, Rogue and Xavier, so that's pretty messy. Nora could be the first X-Man, Magneto thinks. Magneto is rocking a beard like his Marvel rivals and Fortnite counterparts. Bishop must be getting here as fast as he can, I start wondering about. Xavier has inspired Magneto to be more like him, and maybe that'll work for Nur. Nur has let his slave owner live. That couldn't have been an easy choice. I'm surprised Xavier isn't better at reading people's minds. He must be out of practice. They're led to believe they need to find a lost temple. And then Rutro, Nur and his peeps know the X-Men are up to some weapon crafting. And then Nur gets to kill his slave owner, so he's no longer working with the X-Men. And then finally, Bishop arrives. A gun could be very useful in ancient Egypt. Ramatut saying conquer her, that's pretty fun. Bishop has to get them back to the 1990s. The episode ends with Ramatut blowing the heck out of Nora's base. Like, what a cliffhanger. And but of the three, I think the second episode is my favorite thus far. So we'll just have to see where we go from here. And then we have Dark Web X-Men #1. And this came out, and there's going to be several images of here. So I'm going to be posting my short on TikTok and YouTube at JackoSII on Saturday morning. And then I'd be doing the pure comics images on Sunday, as is the norm, but probably not be posting on Blue Sky as videos don't seem to load easily there, but I don't know. We'll see. Um, so this came out February 2023, previously on X-Men. Madeline Pryor's the clone of Jean Grey, aka Marvel Girl of the X-Men. Her fixation on Jean, troubled romantic history of both Summers brothers, and contentious status as a clone has strained her relationship with the rest of mutant kind and Krakoa. Recognizing that Madeline could not call Krakoa home, Magic installed her as the new Queen of Limbo and his demons. But Madeline's journey to healing isn't through yet. Not now that Ben Reilly cloned as Peter Parker, aka Spider-Man, encouraged her to take her harbored resentments and unleash all hell onto New York City, ensnaring the city and all its inhabitants into their dark web. And this is called the Christmas special. The cast is Jean Grey, Cyclops, Magic, Havoc, Firestar, Iceman, Forge, and Spider-Man. Trees will be trimming. This is brought to us by Jerry Duggan. Artist Ron Rice, letter VC's Tom Pettit, Corey Pettit. And I got the Phil Noto cover. And we get a data page of J. Jonah Jameson's quote, "The holidays are magic, and that's bad news this year," which is funny. We had a great opening origin page of Ileana. Okay, so you know how I was kidnapped by the demon Belasco as a child? Gross. Um, Oh yeah, I don't even think I registered. This is Kitty Pryde way up here. And taken to limbo, and a lot of stuff happened, and my mutant power kicked in, and I learned some spells. Ended up fighting Belasco and his goons and winning, like I always do. And then, when you break it, you buy it. Anyway, I ruled limbo, and it was cool for a while, but even Rui Demons gets old. So I let Madeline Pryor take over limbo. I made sure she knew what she was getting into and made her promise not to attack Krakoa. And just like that, we're all caught up. In Manhattan, we see Jean, Scott, and Magic are doing some shopping, which is fun. Um, Cyclops makes a reference to hearing the evil organ sound from Dark Web, and says how, when Limbo changes hands, it always throws hands. So we'll see how that turns out. And then we turns out that we're getting Inferno Part 2 as inanimate objects are coming back. Stanley passed recently, so that's sad. Jean gets to say to me, my X-Men. Magic reminds everyone that the treehouse in Central Park is fine, as Madeline made a deal that she can't hurt Krakoa. We see this here. Nearby, Forge engages the enemy in the streets of New York, and he has a spray like he's Mario Sunshine. It's just zapping the demons out of the inanimate objects. So it's cool to see Forge just being the best. And so they make a plan. Scott tells Iceman and Firestar, don't let New York go to hell, not during the holidays. Jean wants to pick up Havoc as they go to Limbo. And then Magic says, have fun, everyone. So that's just fun. And Firestar's burning them, and Iceman's freezing them. And then we see this fun little visual gag of a demon coming up to one of the Christmas trees, and the little kid saying, Mommy, did that goblin go boom boom in a tree? And the mom's like, ugh, gross, the city sucks. And that's just fun. And then we get a dramatic page flip, and we get the Amazing Friends reunited, Spider-Man, Iceman, and Firestar. So that's just fun how that plot just worked itself in. Meanwhile, at that point in Limbo, they all get there. Havoc wants to get everyone to promise that they won't just start fighting Madeline immediately. He wants to be able to talk to her. And Magic's like, well, I don't think we need to worry about sneaking in as a giant boulder's coming their way. And so Jean stops it for her mind powers, and then Magic's going to teleport them, but unfortunately they get a bunch of sleepy demons and they fall asleep. And Scott falls asleep with his hands across his belly, and I think that's pretty fun. Everyone else just does a classic like lean on your side and fall asleep. So it looks like Scott had a little belly ache and then fell asleep. Back in New York, the naughty tree was pulling decorations off nearby buildings, and then the amazing friends would just keep fighting goblins. Iceman had terraformed a pose of Oraco and defeated the frost giants at their home in Niflheim. Freezing a horrid tree solid was child's play compared to those feats. In fact, so solid was the fast frozen tree that it would not thaw until March of the next year. So that's fun. And then Spider-Man makes sure everyone's fine and starts web slinging away. Meanwhile, the Goblin Queen's seat of power at Limbo, the X-Men walked right into her trap. Jean and Magic were stuck in a powerful spell, and the Summers brothers awoke to find they were prisoners in Maddie's sky dungeons. And Havoc's just trying to explain how Madeline's, um, like she's working it out, and they're gonna just be fine though. And this guy's like, "What are you wearing?" And we see Havoc is wearing his Goblin Prince uniform that everyone's a fan of. And Scott's trying to um figure out a way to escape, and then unfortunately, Havoc gets hit by a chain, as Scott is as well. And we find out we've gonna have a little fun. I'm gonna get everything I wanted, and you two can watch as we find out that Madeline Pryor is doing some ex-husband domestic violence, which we don't love to see, but these Summers brothers, you gotta hit every so often to get them to see. And then we get the final data page, the X of gifts, the X-Men's White Elephant gift exchange. The parameters, gifts should be less than 50 US dollars if purchased, but making the gift was encouraged. Gifts could only be stolen once per round. Numbers were selected telepathically. The gift selecting order was determined. Jean Grey, Sync, Havoc, Forge, Firestar, Magic, Iceman, and then Cyclops. After a few rounds of thievery and at least one accusation of telepathic shenanigans, this is how it all sorted. Jean Grey went home with Sync's gift, a limited edition single cask whiskey from Japan. It'd be opened and shared on New Year's Eve. When the fun ended, Sync was holding onto a really interesting art piece made of carbon and diamonds. It's his window at the treehouse. When the light shines through, it looks like a nebula. Firestar created by using her mutant gifts at full power along the edge of a volcano. Everyone agreed it was the coolest gift and it was stolen the most times. Havoc didn't love the look of his teammates' choices and Fing angled to get his own gift of the year-round Coffees of the World gift delivery. Forge took home a knockoff hoodie sold by the street vendors outside the treehouse. It has Iceman's handsome face on it, and you only get one guess at who gifted it. Um, Firestar ended up with Forge's gift, a living clock that displayed the full date that was made with nothing more than flowers from Coca-Cola, a truly one-of-a-kind item. Magic received Jean Grey's gift, a lovely bit of asteroid plucked from the high orbit around our planet. Jean noticed it while saving the world when the Eternals attacked. Iceman left a white elephant with a wrapped teddy bear that was obviously the handiwork of magic, but the surprise when it was unwrapped was the discovery that it was the old mummified heart of a rhyming demon, formerly of Limbo. Iceman is not quite sure where the appropriate place to keep it is, and Cyclops was happy to end up with his own gift, a Brand Brothers 4K set of Blu-ray discs autographed by Tom Hanks. So both Summers brothers ended up getting their own item, so that's fun. And apparently Marvel made an official damage control board game, which seems interesting. And so we were going to review Dark X-Men 2 next week, as well as Rise of Apocalypse Part 2. And then we'll have Amazing Spider-Man 17 and then Dark Web Dawn. And then yeah, our um Dark Web event will conclude roughly around the time Spider-Man Brand New Day starts. So that's pretty exciting. If you're playing Marvel Snap, right now, the current season that just launched is all about Spider-Man Brand New Day. So interesting. So now let's get to this week's comics. Spoilers ahoy. We have X-Men United 5, written by Dr. Eve L. Ewing, artist Eduardo Pasca, color artist Brian Brever. Letter is VC's Joe Sabino. And I bought the variant cover by Megan Hetrick, which I had to, as it was on the cover of Kitty Pryde, and it was just a cool X-Ladies cover. This issue finally gives us Bronze and Marigold and Mal, M-A-L, so Mal, who we haven't seen since the first issue. The ancient Orcan Arclight simulation. We catch up to Death Dream, Iceman, Emma Frost, Cyclops, and Rogue. Death Dream finds a way to escape back to Gray Matter Lane. Um, oh, hey, um, probably plug at the end, but ShadowFlameOfMagic.com turned 13 on the 30th, and just a good little, hey, if you want to not just hear my voice, but read my thoughts, the website's perfect for that. Um, I like how his fellow outliers are the ones that find him. That's pretty nice. Bronze of Marigold, Lockheed's hopefully not evil female clone that Mr. Sinister created, and Melee are talking about how Kitty Pryde wouldn't stand them up. So at least Kitty's mentioned this issue. A few minutes later, all the students have gathered. Nice to see Indra back. We learned that all the adults are gone. Miss Marvel wonders if they should get the Avengers, but Sophia shouts that idea down, that this is a mutant problem, but will take a mutant solution. I like Axel standing up for Sophie, and Lolo criticized him for it, as Axel and Sophie are very close friends. I so appreciate the cast list in the beginning of this issue, as it helps with these lesser known characters. Match also, who I haven't remembered the last time I even saw a Match from the new X-Men days, the second new X-Men days. Match also criticizes they're using Mr. Sinister's tech, and Bronze keeps to the company line that it's clearly okay, but I have my doubts, especially as I see Marigold in the panel. I do like Melee, Ransom, and Gabby being the ones to take leadership. They are the leaders of their respective cliques. Meanwhile, Ben Liu is coming to terms with letting Emma Frost in his mind. Nice that Tiago Palma gets a 5 fun facts feature in the X mentions. The adults are having a time navigating their way through the shadowy realm. Back at the Gray Matter Lane, I guess Laura is considered as an adult as she's not around. None of the adults can be located, not even the empathy engine. They decide to break up into teams. Bronze of Marigold seeks out Mal, who's heading off on her own, so they follow her. Mal does not appreciate this and turns into a monster mode, scaring the two of them. This is such a cool page, and we can see Marigold's image from the cast page. The students are going to make a Louisiana team and an Alaskan team. Bronze and Marigold come running back saying something's wrong with Mal, but Mal shows up like nothing's wrong. This is giving single white female vibes. Mal sadly walks away. Mal is clearly being tempted by the Shadow King, but we don't know that yet. Poor Bronze and Marigold look so sad here. Even Riff is back as he gets to open portals to get his two teams away. It isn't odd, or is it nice that the Outliers are not the full Louisiana away team? Kalikyo is taking Lulu and another person with her. Below, we can see who's officially on the Alaskan team. Gabby's taken over by a shadowy person and attacks everyone. Thankfully, this doesn't last too long, probably because Gabby's pure of heart. Sophie puts up a psychic shield, and Jitter, for some reason, hasn't mentioned this was without consent. Like she's saving your life right now. Sophie apologizes, but I'm not sure if that was warranted here. But I guess it's a nice thing to do. She hears a criticism and takes responsibility for it. That is the right thing to do. The adults keep getting attacked. Emma can't do any telepathic attempts as she needs to be in her diamond form, which feels like it's been a while since I've seen her in her diamond form. Rogue is on the attack and she's losing pieces of her outfit as rogues tend to do. They want to go to the safety of the gray matter lane. Unfortunately, the gray matter lane isn't that safe either as the issue ends. Oh, and I got my 14th letter published. I didn't send one in for the fourth issue as I couldn't think of anything positive to say besides requesting Marigo and Mal to return, but we got this issue, so desires met. What if Secret Wars won? Um, and it turns out it was what if original Ultimate Universe survived the 2015 Secret Wars at the expense of Marvel Prime. Adult Peter Parker made it as during Secret Wars he gave Monocle Man a hamburger, and so Monocle Man let him live. And um, since Ultimate Peter Parker died a hero, adult Peter Parker decides to go by the name Scarlet Spider, Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D., and that's just cool. He still has like the all red suit with a blue sweater, but the sweater looks more like a armored tunic. And turns out his spider bite radiation's having pretty nasty effects in the Ultimate Universe, and it's just more like causing him cancer, and he's slowly dying from it. But then we get Ultimate Shadowcat, who I love in her all white uniform. Human Torch and Iceman hint that um, Fury said that they don't have the portal to get back to the main universe, but it turns out Fury lied about it and they're going to go look for it. Um, Ben Grimm turns into the Thing to fight Kitty, and Shadowcat tells him like, "Hey, I fought Galactus. I can fight you." And then like defeats him easily. Where I just love to see Ultimate Shadowcat, who, when the original Ultimate Universe was coming to an end, like she was practically one of the big three pillars of that new universe. So I just love that she's shown here. Turns out there is a portal to the other 616 universe, but they're calling it not a portal, but more of a window. But Peter just jumps through it anyways, and turns out he finds the Maker and Monocle Man. And the Maker keeps trying to make all these alternate Earths, but he can't recreate the 616 as it doesn't exist anymore. And also, he's attempted to make other things, but the superheroes make it a real difficulty to make alternate Earths. So, and then Peter goes back, and there's a giant explosion. We're given a caption that Ultimate Shadowcat survived, and cancerous Peter is looking for people to help him out. And we see like Ultimate Storms there, Ultimate Jean Grey, some other characters. But yeah, like I wouldn't mind a continuation of this issue. It was pretty cool. Then we get the Marvel Swimsuit Special, Brand New Beach Day. And it's broken into four parts. The first one's Namor hosting a swimsuit contest that has Lockheed hang out the Pet Avengers and the Inhumans. So that was fun to see. Then we get an X-Men segment um, where Kitty Pryde's there, Jubilee's there, Beast is having like the X ladies are marveling at all the gentlemen's bodies, and Beast is feeling left out, I guess. I mean, he's no Nightcrawler, but Beast has been found to be attracted to or attractive to many a person. So I don't know why he's so in the dumps. Except that, sometimes you feel down sometimes, and even if there is a pool party. Um, and this year, and then there's a Hulk and She-Hulk feature, and then there was what was the fourth one? Namor? And Namor spends most of his time looking for Invisible Woman, which is like, are we still doing these stories? It was cool that of the four, Loki was in half of them. I did appreciate that. Um, the Hulks, I don't know. They didn't leave that much of an impression on me, I suppose. And then Wade Wilson, Deadpool 6, he's fighting the bad pools. At one point, Deadpool's wearing an X-Men t-shirt, so that was pretty fun. Next week's comics, we're going to do Jeff the Landshark Superstar 1. That's supposed to debut a new Shatterstar Magic mixture. Uncanny X-Men Volume 631, Wolverine Volume 823, X-Men 97 Season 2 1. It's Symbi, which is like a Venom symbiote story told through like a it's Jeff lens. Sorcerer Supreme 8 and Civil War Unmasked 3. I'm really looking forward to this Jeff the Super Land Shark Superstar and Uncanny X-Men. See how that goes. And just looking at my top 10 list, and yeah, it looks to be the same as last week. So there you go. So everyone, that was episode 236 of Shadow and Playing of Magic. It is 15 minutes away from 4th of July. So happy 4th of July if you're listening to us on Saturday. If not, I hope you had a safe July 4th and America turned 250. And that's very cool. And so next week we'll also be reviewing Dark Web X-Men 2 and Rise of Apocalypse Part 2. So that's fun. And you can follow me online at Jacko SII on YouTube, TikTok, Blue Sky, um, and on shadowandplayingofmagic.com. You can follow the podcast at SNFWM on Blue Sky and Instagram, which we're keep getting new followers on Instagram. So thank you everyone who continues to support the account there. If you use Reddit, the Daily Lockheed hit 600. I'm hoping we can get to 700 quickly. Irk is too strong a word, but it is something where every time I do a cross post to the Kitty Pride one who has like over 3,000, I'm like, well, we should at least have a third of the Kitty Pride people, but we're still super new, so we'll see how that works out. If you do know of a Bishop and Iceman subreddit, let me know. Um, oh, and if you would rate and subscribe to the channel and tell a friend, like just love to get more analytics on the two platforms, Spotify and Apple, and apparently I need more subscribers to get that done, but the numbers are good. I mean, I appreciate every single person who listens or watches on YouTube. And thank you so much. Just want the podcast to grow. And if you want to be a guest, reach out. And if you want me to be a guest on your podcast, I would love to do that as well. And um, as we sign off, just please don't have any shadows of doubt. Make like a flame and ign don't, ugh, I messed that up. I was doing so good. Um, don't have any shadows of doubt. Ignite those flames and make like magic and get out there and enjoy your week. And I will talk to you next time. All right, everyone. Adios.